On December 19, 2025, LG Chem made headlines across South Korea with a bold and unexpected announcement that sent ripples through the business community and beyond. The company submitted a confidential plan to the government, not for a new product launch or expansion, but for a sweeping restructuring of its massive petrochemical business, a move that surprised many industry watchers. This bold step signals LG Chem's readiness to adapt to a rapidly changing industry landscape, where global competition, environmental regulations, and shifting market demands are reshaping the future of petrochemicals. By taking initiative, LG Chem is setting a powerful precedent for other companies facing similar challenges. Responding directly to a government request for industry reform, LG Chem is stepping up as a leader, working closely with policymakers to tackle complex challenges such as sustainability, innovation, and economic resilience. While the details of the restructuring plan remain under wraps, the message is clear. The old ways of doing business are no longer sustainable in today's world. The company recognizes the urgent need for transformation to remain competitive and responsible. LG Chem is preparing to streamline operations, invest in new technologies, and reimagine its business model, all with the goal of achieving greater efficiency and better alignment with the demands of today's market and tomorrow's opportunities. This is more than just a business decision. It's a move that will impact thousands of employees, business partners, local communities, and even the national economy. The ripple effects of this transformation will be felt far and wide, shaping the future of South Korea's industrial landscape. The announcement marks the beginning of a transformative new chapter for one of South Korea's most influential industrial giants, signaling a commitment to progress, responsibility, and long-term growth. It's a story of resilience, vision, and the courage to embrace change, an inspiring example of how a company can lead the way in building a stronger, more sustainable future for the nation's vital petrochemical sector. To truly understand LG Chem's recent strategic moves, we first need to step back and explore the broader context of the petrochemical industry, a sector that quietly shapes much of our modern world. Let's take a closer look at what the petrochemical industry is, how it operates, and why it's so vital to economies like South Korea's. At its core, this sector transforms raw materials, mainly crude oil and natural gas, into a vast array of essential chemicals. These chemicals serve as the foundation for products we use every day: plastics that package our food, synthetic fibers in our clothes, components in electronics, and even materials for medical devices and pharmaceuticals. The journey begins in specialized facilities called naphtha-cracking centers. Here, crude oil derivatives are subjected to intense heat and pressure, breaking them down into key ingredients like ethylene and propylene, molecules that are the starting point for countless products. These basic chemicals are then shipped to factories around the world, fueling industries as diverse as automotive manufacturing, textiles, packaging, construction, and high-tech electronics. In many ways, the petrochemical sector is the invisible backbone of modern manufacturing and daily life. In South Korea, the petrochemical industry has been a driving force behind decades of rapid economic growth. It has enabled the country to become a major exporter, not just of raw chemicals, but of finished goods that rely on these materials. Leading companies like LG Chem and Lotte Chemical have risen to global prominence, supplying critical materials to industries ranging from cars and smartphones to renewable energy and healthcare. Because of this, any significant change or disruption in the petrochemical sector can send shockwaves through the entire economy, impacting supply chains, influencing prices, and affecting thousands of jobs. That's why when the government calls for industry reform or innovation, and when companies respond, the world pays close attention. These decisions can shape the future of the nation's economy and its role on the global stage. The stakes are high, not just for big corporations or policymakers, but for everyday people whose lives are touched by petrochemicals in ways they may never realize. LG Chem's recent actions are not happening in isolation. They are a direct response to mounting pressure from the highest levels of government. The company, like many others in South Korea's chemical sector, is facing a new reality shaped by urgent policy shifts and economic headwinds. The South Korean government has issued an urgent request, calling on major industry players to take decisive action. This is not just a routine policy update, but a clear signal that the status quo is no longer sustainable. Specifically, the government has asked companies operating naphtha-cracking centers, the backbone of the nation's petrochemical industry, to restructure their operations and reduce production capacity by as much as 25%. This is a significant cut, reflecting the scale of the challenge at hand. This isn't a gentle suggestion, it's a strategic and forceful push to address a growing and serious problem: overcapacity. The government is making it clear that inaction is not an option. For years, South Korean firms expanded rapidly, building new plants and increasing output to meet booming global demand. But the landscape has changed dramatically. Now, global demand has shifted, and China, once a major customer, has become largely self-sufficient, producing much of what it needs domestically. The result? A glut of supply, falling prices, and shrinking profits for South Korean producers. Factories that once ran at full capacity are now struggling to stay busy, and workers face uncertainty about the future. The government's intervention is designed to prevent a much deeper crisis. By planning reductions now, policymakers hope to avoid chaos and protect jobs in the long run. It's about taking tough action today to secure a more stable tomorrow. Companies may need to close older, less efficient plants, consolidate operations, or scale back production lines that are no longer profitable. These are difficult decisions, but they are necessary to ensure the industry's survival. The ultimate goal is to restore balance between supply and demand, stabilize prices, and protect the long-term health of South Korea's vital chemical industry. It's about building a foundation for future growth, even if it means short-term pain. It's a tough prescription, but a necessary one for survival. The choices made now will shape the industry for years to come. The industry must adapt, innovate, and embrace change, or risk far greater losses in the future. The path forward is challenging, but with decisive action, there is hope for renewal and resilience. LG Chem isn't alone. This is an industry-wide transformation. Other giants like DL Chemical and Hanwha Solutions have submitted their own restructuring plans, showing a united front. Even joint ventures like Yeochun NCC are part of the process, with major shareholders collaborating on solutions. Last month, Hyundai and Lotte Chemical proposed merging parts of their businesses to create a stronger, more competitive entity. These moves show that companies are not just acting individually, but working together to reshape the industry. The government's push has sparked a wave of self-examination and strategic realignment. The entire ecosystem is adapting, aiming for a more resilient and sustainable future. Restructuring may sound complex, but it's about making a business healthier and more efficient. For LG Chem, this means reviewing every part of its petrochemical operations to see what works and what doesn't. It could involve selling off underperforming units, merging divisions, or shutting down outdated factories. The goal is to focus resources on areas with the most potential and eliminate redundancies. Consolidation, like the Hyundai and Lotte Chemical deal, creates stronger, streamlined operations. Modernizing facilities can cut costs and boost efficiency. Restructuring is tough, but it's about survival and future growth in a changing market. For South Korea, it's the path to a more competitive and sustainable petrochemical industry. The root problem is overcapacity, too much supply, not enough demand. South Korea's petrochemical boom was fueled by global demand, but now countries like China have built their own massive industries. China, once a top customer, is now a major competitor, flooding the market with its own products. This has led to a glut, too many factories, too much ethylene, and falling prices. South Korean firms are seeing profits shrink or disappear. If this continues, companies could face bankruptcies and job losses. The government's call to cut capacity by 25% is a direct response to this crisis. Reducing supply should help stabilize prices and restore profitability. It's a necessary step to prevent a much larger economic fallout. Naphtha-cracking centers, or NCCs, are the heart of the petrochemical industry. These massive complexes turn naphtha into ethylene, the building block for most plastics. The output of NCCs sets the pace for the entire industry. If NCCs produce too much, the whole market is flooded. That's why the government's restructuring targets these facilities specifically. By reducing NCC output, the industry can quickly address the supply-demand imbalance. Major players like LG Chem, Lotte Chemical, and Yeochun NCC are at the center of this effort. The goal? Meaningful, lasting change that restores stability and profitability. Restructuring on this scale isn't easy. Companies face tough choices about which plants to close, and workers' livelihoods are at stake. There are financial, logistical, and environmental hurdles. Shutting down facilities is costly and complex. Joint ventures add another layer of negotiation and coordination. But within these challenges lie opportunities. Companies can invest in smarter, greener factories and shift toward high-value, specialty products. This is a chance to move beyond basic chemicals and become leaders in advanced materials and innovation. By embracing change, South Korea's petrochemical industry can emerge stronger, more profitable, and more sustainable. The future belongs to those who adapt and innovate. While restructuring brings uncertainty, it's also a hopeful new beginning. The industry and government are showing courage by facing reality and making tough choices. Balancing supply and demand will restore profitability and fuel investment in people and innovation. This transformation is a chance to build a greener, more responsible industry, phasing out inefficient plants and investing in cleaner technologies. The shift aligns with global demand for sustainability and positions South Korea as a leader in green manufacturing. It's about pruning for future growth, not decline. With collaboration and vision, the industry can become leaner, more agile, and better prepared for the future. This bold move paves the way for a brighter, more prosperous era for South Korea's petrochemical sector.